Okay. We're not starting the episode with that.
No, we definitely aren't.
Let's try it again.
All right, let's try that again.
1, 2, 3, go. Welcome to A Lot About a Little. I'm Logan.
I'm Reid.
And this is the show where we talk a lot about a little bit of something each week. And I still feel like we need to improve that little intro right there.
Probably.
I think we've been...
This is the second time we've done this one for the episode, and it didn't get any better.
Yeah, Reed's over here turning fans on and, setting off fireworks in his apartment, and he's making all sorts of noise.
It's been very warm out here, so the AC was going, and, I had to make sure that it wasn't too loud in the background of the audio,
What's the temperature over there?
Today it was up in the lower 90s.
Yeah, it's about the same here, and it was humid.
It's a little toasty. We aren't too humid, luckily, but
yeah,
there's your weekly weather report, courty of A Lot About a Little. You're welcome.
Weekly weather report. Today we've got quite the episode. Both of us, especially me, I feel like, has been starting a lot of new things lately. We started this podcast not too long ago. I mean, we're already on episode 5.
Yeah, we've somehow made it this far. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an accomplishment to make 1, but let alone make 5.
Yeah.
I don't want to. It's not that much of an accomplishment. But.
We got to look up, surely there's a number out there of, an episode limit for podcasts of what they get to before they just die off. And, we got to beat that number. What is the episode or time frame that people just, it just fizzles out and people give up on the new podcast they start? Surely there's something out there about that.
Well, I feel like the hardest part is starting, right? Everyone's always talking about, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. This, that, the other podcast. Well, we did it, and we started, and that's one of the hardest things to do. So congratulations on a month of not quitting so far.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. We somehow made it.
Yeah, I mean, this to be honest, this has been in the conversation for quite a long time, though. I mean,
it has.
I feel like I brought this up probably about a year or so ago, at least.
You did, yeah.
And then we were both kind of just waiting for some, again, new beginnings to start for both of us. And so now we've got brand new beginnings to go on right now.
New beginnings.
That's what I said.
Especially new beginnings.
Don't overthink about
extra new. Extra new beginnings.
Extra new. But this week we're talking all about new beginnings. And I thought we could start off by talking about you. And you've had a new beginning that's a little bit different than anything that I've ever experienced, because you, first of all, moved away from home for school. So I want to ask you about that. But I also want to know about what it was like to move pretty much across the country.
Yeah.
Because you're from here in the Midwest, and to move, to the East Coast was quite the change in your life, I'm sure. So I just wanted to get
just a bit.
your thoughts on how that adjustment was. First, let's talk about college first, because obviously that happened first.
Sure. College for me was definitely I don't want to say a difficult move, but it was a harder move. I had spent time away from home, growing up in high school. I would go to camps and stuff away from home, where I'd stay 3 nights away from home, which that kind of helps you prepare. But college is, I feel when you move away, completely different animal, because you're on your own, and you're not I was living on campus, so I wasn't to the point where I had to cook and make food for myself, but I was still in the spot where I need to go find food to eat,
Yeah.
Just things that I needed to just figure out how to do on my own, and not stuff that my parents would have done that now were in my hands, like getting food, or remembering to do laundry, or just clean, simple stuff like that I guess I took for granted growing up, that it was now on my plate. The biggest thing for college for me was moving down to campus, and only really knowing kind of one person who went to my high school, but they moved to my high school senior year, and I didn't really know them until a week or a month before I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So they weren't particularly someone that I knew. And so moving down there, it took a lot like for me as an introvert to like get out of my shell and like meet new people. But like I just remember like the first night, like the first day after moving, like my parents left and I sat in my dorm room and like my roommate was very quiet and like never spoke to me. And I was just like, all right, like I don't know anyone, but like I know that I need to meet people and find people, or like these next 4 years are going to be absolutely miserable, you know. And like luckily there was like a freshman year like dinner cookout thing on campus that I could go to, and I ended up like finding that guy from the high school and like meeting him, and I met people in the program that I was in, and then in turn, you know, eventually met you and stuff like that. So that was definitely like, it took a lot to like get out of my shell a little bit more, but like that also helped me prepare for like future moves, because there was like I moved away after freshman year for an internship for 4 months in Southern Illinois, and like that was the first big test where it was like, all right, like now I need to like actually like cook and feed myself and like make food and stuff like that, you know. So that was definitely a little bit of a learning curve. So like honestly, like the move out to where I am now in Pennsylvania from, you know, the Midwest wasn't bad, because it was very much in a situation that I had been in before. Obviously, it was still different in some aspects, that I was picking up literally everything, you know, and moving with like no return date in mind. You know, like I had some friends ask me before I moved out, they're like, well, like when are you coming back to the Chicago area? I'm like, I don't know, like when I get a chance to come visit, you know, like,
right.
It's not like this was an internship or like a semester I was going off to. Like this was a full-time job,
Right.
you know, like with no return date, you know. It was a one-way ticket to Pennsylvania, you know. And like I don't know, like I packed up the back of my car, threw my bike on the roof, shipped out some boxes of stuff, and like I was away, you know. And like I got to my apartment, and like the only piece of furniture I had was my bed, and like I had to go apartment shop or like furniture shopping and like find that stuff and like figure out like how to schedule getting my internet installed or stuff like that, you know. Like a lot of stuff you don't think about, or like getting my insurance switched over, you know, like that was a thing, you know. So like a lot of stuff that you don't think about. So like I feel like the hardest move for me definitely was the first one to college, but they got progressively easier as time went on, because I had like that knowledge from previous ones, and it was just kind of like building on to what I already had done. So it wasn't too bad moving out here, I would say.
Okay. That was a lot of information.
That was.
I had some questions that I kept thinking of, and then you would just go and answer those questions.
Going.
So, like, you moving out there, I mean, you're obviously you started your first full-time job, which, I mean, I just am kind of going through right now.
Yep.
And, you know, that had to be a lot of adjustment. I mean, because first of all, you've lived on your own, like you said, but now you're, you know, very far away from a lot of pretty much any family or anyone that you had contact with, right? I mean, at school you were a couple hours away, but you know,
I was about 2 hours away from home, so yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, I mean that's just a short car ride if anything really went wrong. But now you're kind of like across the country.
Yeah,
and you know those first few months, what was kind of going through your mind, and like were you enjoying it right away, or were you kind of almost having some buyer's remorse and regretting that decision, you know, right when you first moved out there?
I don't think I really had any regret, because I knew my boss coming out here.
Okay.
Because I had worked under him from the internship in Southern Illinois, so that helped to at least like know someone.
Yeah.
And like the way I've always approached like a new job or new opportunity is like, all right, like the hard work is done like once you start the job, because like the employer has offered you the job, and like they are already trusting that you will get the job done.
Right.
So now the easy part is just going there and doing what you know.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, like starting a new job, like I no longer needed to really like try to impress anyone.
Right.
Because they already knew what I was coming in with, you know. But in terms of like adjustment, like the first couple of weeks were like getting my feet under me and getting stuff situated were a little bit tricky. But I think what helped was like work, getting my mind off of it, because, you know, I moved out here in January to work full time for a baseball team, and the season was starting in April, and we had a lot of work to do.
Right.
So like that definitely helped like distract me a little bit, at least during the working hours, and then I could go home and, you know, take care of getting, you know, my apartment all situated, or, you know, any of the other stuff I need to do.
How long you've been there? How long now? About
This is just over a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in January.
Okay. How long did it take you to finally feel like you were comfortable there? How long did it till you could call that place home? You know what I mean? Like
Oh
either
man.
it probably still feels a little bit new, but like you're obviously in a good flow of things. Like how long did it take for you to get to that kind of place where you're at now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know, probably like through the end of last season,
Because last
because
season was your first full season
that
there,
was my
correct?
first full season working in baseball. Because previously I'd just been an intern, so I had missed the start and ends of seasons.
Right.
So that was like my first time going through the hecticness that is opening day and seeing how a full season, pans out. So I'd say like right around the end of that first season, it started to feel like a new home, because like there was still stuff I needed to do during the season to get like situated and such. And like that
Yeah.
stuff just kind of like, I don't know, that was just like different, like working as much as I was while still taking care of that. So it kind of like, I don't know, probably around like September of last year, it started to feel like another home, I guess.
Okay. Going back to what you said earlier, like about starting to feel comfortable, like in your job specifically. I mean,
Yeah.
I was talking about a little bit. I just started my first full time job, and something that I even am still, thinking about. I don't know if I want to say struggling with, but thinking about is like, the industry that we're in is like content creation, and it's very much based on like it's a very like specific skill set
Yeah.
that each person has. It's not like someone who doesn't know what they're doing could do what either of us are. This is what we were trained to do. This is what we do.
Yeah.
How long did it take for the self-doubt to go away? I mean, obviously there's still a good amount of self-doubt, that probably still exists and probably will still forever exist, but like,
Yeah.
it took me a while, especially. I mean, I'm only in almost a month now at the
Yeah.
job, and so now it's still everything I make. I'm like, this is, this is. I just don't even know how to feel about it. Like, I'm not super like happy, and my boss is doing a really good job of like making me feel like the stuff that I'm creating is good,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But is that something that is still going on in your head, or is that something that has gotten better for you?
Yeah, I know like for me, like the imposter syndrome, like if you want to call it that, like it kind of like ebbs and flows.
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what ebbs and flows means?
No, I don't even know what you're saying.
What?
Wait,
You don't
what are
know?
you
No,
saying?
you don't know what ebbs and flows means?
Ebbs and flows?
Yeah, like it goes up and down, like it comes and goes.
No. Well, is
Ebbs
that one
and
of your weird
flows.
like?
Ebb
Is
and
that one of your
flow.
weird cheese
No, ebb and
isms or
flow
something?
means to fluctuate between two states in a repeated way. You had never heard
Okay.
of that before?
Reed, we're not
Okay.
talking scientists. I've been interviewing a
So-
whole bunch of really smart kids lately. I'm not set for this here.
To put it into layman's terms for Logan,
Thank you.
the imposter syndrome, I don't know if it will ever fully go away, but it will come and go.
Right.
There are definitely like a lot of times where like I'll go into a creative meeting with an idea that I think is really good, and like everyone's like, yeah, it's good, and like I have to balance it in my mind of like the piece like still being good, but also like it like getting feedback from non-creative people can also be challenging at times.
Yeah.
Because you have a vision in your head, and that can be kind of hard to portray that people outside of the space.
Right.
Or like I follow a lot of really talented people on Twitter and stuff that do sports design, and like people that I look up to a lot in design. And it's really easy to get sucked into that hole. Everything you see online is better than what you're doing,
Right.
and like you're just like stuck at that point of being like, well, I'll never be as good as, XYZ,
Right.
But then there's also other times where like I'll make something, bring it into a meeting, and it goes over like really well. Like in 2 weeks, the team's going to be wearing a jersey and hat I designed for a whole week,
Wow,
which
yeah.
like makes me feel really legit for a designer, But then like the week after that, I could be making on something that I just can't like get a design down for, and I'll just feel like I have no idea what I'm doing,
Yeah.
So I don't know if it ever fully goes away, but it ebbs and flows and like, or comes and goes. But I don't know.
Crazy isms.
You just kind of learn to like deal with it, and like that's just part of doing creative work. Is that like any other job, you'll have good days and you'll have bad ones, and you take both as they come, and just kind of move on. But as long as you're always improving, then that's what matters.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, even like I had a good amount of time before I started, so I accepted the job, and I was still working downtown at the radio station, and
Yeah.
I had a couple weeks between the two, right? I mean, that I took off before I started the full-time job, and that whole time was just a lot of thought of like, why did I know why they hired me, so they obviously like what I did, and it started, that feeling is starting to go away now, but like it was very much like, why am I here? I knew the last person that had this job, and the stuff that they had created, and that was all really good, and so it's like, but what I kept telling myself was, I made it very clear in the interview. I'm like, I'm not this previous person, right? I'm not that person, right? I can do what I can do.
Yep.
I mean, you can see everything that I know how to do, I'm not, a photographer. I can stand there with the camera and take a photo, right? As anyone, well, I don't want to say anyone, but most people can.
Most people could, yeah.
I can take photos. It's not rocket science, but I'm not a photographer, and that was something I told them in the interview, and they still hired me anyway. So they knew all this before they hired me. So, but there's still always that feeling, in the back of your mind where it's like, and like you said, I'm sure with time that starts to fade away. But it's just like our industry is so weird because we're continuously creating stuff, and we're basically just like coming up with things like ideas, it's trying to explain that to someone who's not in the industry is very strange, because it's like we're literally starting with nothing, and someone is like, I want this,
and you need to somehow come up with And I think like going back to like your feelings starting this new job about like I guess like how qualified you think you are for for that job by yourself. I think like one thing that didn't help me as well is, like I got this job and because I knew someone, or like you knew people that
right.
You knew the previous person in your role, other people that worked there. Like I knew my boss that I work under now because I worked under him before, and like there's always like that seed of doubt where it's like, well, did I get this job because I know someone or because of my skills?
Right.
And like,
a way to introduce more doubt in my head. Jeez.
But like,
I was not thinking that until right
where
now.
Where like you can think you're really solid in your skills, but like at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there that can make video and make graphics to the standards that a lot of companies want. So I don't think there's anything bad with getting a job because of someone because there's 100 other people that can do that job as well.
Right.
And like I feel like every creative wants to think that they're getting chosen for jobs and stuff because of their work, and that does happen. Like that's how I got like the internship that led to this job. Like I was a freshman that happened to apply and got chosen. Didn't know anyone there, But like I feel like a lot of times like the whole like grind culture and stuff, like I grinded so hard for this job with XYZ company in XYZ position, and it's like you worked your butt off to get there, but you also knew the right people, It's a hard thing to balance in your mind, in knowing like, yes, I knew the right person, but I also worked hard and got my skills to where they need to be to get this role.
Right. And there is a good amount of work that can go into it, though. Also, like you said, there's 100,000 different people that can make videos. Like people do it on YouTube who have no training. You can make videos, But I was lucky in the sense that I spent a lot of time the last few semesters of undergrad doing video and production work at the university. And, I think that was seen by, my current boss and some of the other people in the marketing department, and just having a presence there and I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but I feel like trying to at least be nice and like be a happy person and like easy to work with is something that I always just try to do, because again, I'm not trying to be mad or angry the whole time at work, and so this is stuff that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And being able to now do it as a job, but also like even when I wasn't getting paid, it was a lot of things, in the undergrad stuff that led to this, new opportunity that wasn't paid, and it was just for your paid an experience, as it were.
Yeah.
But like you said, sometimes you have to put in the work and show people like, hey, I'm willing to do this, go above and beyond what is expected, and I think that just gets seen by people, and that's how you meet more people.
I think what it comes down to is you obviously need to put in the work and refine your skills, and put together a good portfolio or a good reel or whatever that looks like in your role.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you need to get it in front of people.
Right.
And if you get it in front of the right people, they know other people, that can get you connected with jobs. So I think that's where kind of the convergence of like connections and skill is when finding a job. Because like if you're in the creative field and you just know someone, like you may get the job, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to stay in it. Like it's almost like the connection will get you that job, but your skill set will come in for letting you keep that job.
Yeah. And that's a very good point, especially in like today, getting a job like this is so much different than even like, 15, 20 years ago, when a lot of these creative jobs didn't even exist.
Yeah.
And now, you and I both are connected with, hundreds of people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so, that's technically a connection, right? That's a little bit different than like just, not knowing it, just meeting someone somewhere once. And so having that larger network definitely helps. But like you said, I really actually do like that point, is that knowing you will, what was it? Knowing
who will get you there, and what will keep you there.
Yeah, I really like that quote.
I can know the CEO of like the largest TV broadcasting station in the country, and like he may hand me a job, but if I don't know jack about what I'm doing there, like it ain't gonna work,
Yeah, and I mean that's no different than where I'm at now. I know the president of the university. I worked with him every week, and when was that? Last week he had a visitor come, and I went and took a photo, and he came right up and shook my hand and was like, I'm really glad that you're continuing to be here and that you got a full-time job with us, because, I really enjoy working with you.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's great to know that person. But, if I suck at what I'm doing, then I won't be there very long. What I mean?
Yeah. But you don't. So you got nothing to worry about. Hopefully this whole conversation just didn't make you doubt everything you've ever thought about yourself.
No. But it's good to kind of talk out some of these thoughts and just get your perspective as well, because again, these are some major life changes that I'm sure a lot of
100%.
other people who are in our age range are also going through. And then the final question I guess we could discuss is how do you know when it's time to move on, I guess, is the right situation, because obviously starting a new beginning is one thing, right? And you're obviously getting comfortable the longer you're there, but at a certain point you get to a point where you hit that proverbial glass ceiling, and it's like, I don't know how long is too long. And obviously, I mean, even now, I know, will not. It's all a continual growing field. I mean, that's just how the nature of our business is we're always looking to grow. We're always looking for new opportunities.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like in my eyes, it comes down to, I guess it just comes down to like what you want to do on your next step. Like it depends on like, say I want to like shift roles from like, like maybe you're in a video role now and you want to shift into something that's say like more like motion graphics, and become a motion artist or something like that, like Like, that's great, but like maybe your current position doesn't give you as many opportunities as you'd like, or maybe it does, but you're ready to do that in a full-time capacity, and your current, employer doesn't have that,
Right.
or like you have someone above you that is like in their role, and they're not going anywhere.
Right.
And I think like that's obviously like a really tough decision to make, because that can mean a move, that can mean like going into a position that maybe you've never worked in full time before, and then there's those thoughts of your skills coming back into your mind, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's like a tough decision, and like obviously it's not something that people make overnight. There's a ton of factors that go into changing roles, whatever it may be. But it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it just has to do with what your goals are and kind of how your current situation allows you to achieve those.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said a few times throughout this conversation, our times are much different than it used to be before, even than my parents' time, because I mean, both my parents, right when they turned 18, got a job, and both of them have been at that company, at that job, since they were 18.
Yeah, that's the same thing with my parents. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to my parents about that a lot, and how job turnover is totally different now. Whereas, even regardless of if it has to do with what you're doing, like it's advantageous to change jobs frequently in terms of just a salary standpoint as well,
Right.
And like, especially in the sports industry I'm in, it's not unusual for, there's a lot of like contracted positions in this industry where you sign a 1-year contract to join a team as like a social media coordinator, and like you work for that team for 1 year, and then you're moving on to your next team the next year.
Right.
And I don't think it has anything to do with like loyalty of employees or anything like that, but it just comes down to nature of the industry, and just, that constant progression that I think a lot of people are seeking more so now.
Yeah. And I also, when starting out in our industry, it's the salary is not, necessarily where we would like it to be. And like you said, a lot of it is working for that experience. You're getting paid in experience, as it were, and obviously in minor league sports, and that not just baseball, but any of them, the money's just not there. They're not selling out 20,000 seats every night.
Yeah.
They're selling, maybe 500 tickets, if that.
No one's working in minor league sports to get rich quick.
That is for sure, and so always having an open mind for better opportunities is good, and and we'll see what the future brings, I guess. But
no, like I love what I do now. Like if I didn't like what I do, like I don't think I would have stayed in this industry as long as I did, because you like in sports you really have to love what you do. But no, I think that was a good conversation though. Like, I don't know, it was more of like, is this like our first like deeper topic episode?
I think so.
There weren't like a bunch of laughs in there, but like I feel like it's all still valuable information. Like, I know we talked a lot about the creative industry, but I think a lot of people can apply that to whatever role they're in.
Yeah, and I think it's good to help us find our niche. That's I was reading on the on the Spotify website, I think, is how to improve your podcast is find your target audience. Instead of just like trying to send it out there for everyone. But I think we had some good information, and that wasn't really the point of the conversation, but it kind of just went that way. The point is that we're both relatively new in the industry and in our careers, and we're both in a really good place now. We both really like what we're doing, and there's always we can always dream, right? We always want bigger and better things that will never stop. Hopefully, that passion will never stop. And if you really love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's a good way to look at it.
Thank you. But I think that was a really good conversation, really beneficial. Hopefully, cool. Well, that was like we both have said, that was a great conversation. Make sure you follow A Lot About a Little on Instagram and TikTok. Those handles are
at A Lot About a Little Pod. Give us a follow. Watch our recent reels, because we're trying to do 2 clips from each episode on there.
We're learning. It's all a learning process. That's the process when starting something new. So
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that we kept this going, and hopefully we cheers to many more than just 5 episodes.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, like Reid said, follow us on socials. We got new episodes on Spotify, exclusively on Spotify.
Exclusively on Spotify, which is where you're listening to this.
Yes, every Friday at 10 o'clock Central, right? That's the time that we chose.
Yeah.
9 o'clock Central in the morning, sometime. Every Friday, you can expect a new episode.
Every Friday morning, you can expect a new episode, yeah.
So thank you very much for listening. We will catch you on the next one.
See ya.